All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this Industry and Campus Solutions webinar. Wheaton College revolutionizes student learning. I'm Jody Tracy, Online Event Production Manager at Educause, and I'll be your moderator for today. Educause is pleased to welcome today's presenters, Jaime Mejia, Michael Rodarmer, and Chris Vallada. They'll introduce themselves here in just a moment, but first I'll give you a brief overview of our session's learning environment in Zoom. We hope you'll join us in making this session interactive. To open the chat, just click on the chat icon at the bottom of the presentation window, and you can use that to make comments, ask questions. We will have a Q&A section at the end, but would be happy to take questions throughout as they come to you. So please go ahead and ask questions. If you have any technical issues, you can direct a private message by selecting the panelists and hosts in the drop-down chat, and we will assist you. This session's recording and slides will be archived later today on the Educause website. And now let's turn to today's presentation. Today we'll learn how, with the help of AppsAnywhere, Wheaton College improved its students' experiences, enhanced the IT department, and made its CIO happy. We're delighted to be joined today by Jaime Mejia, Michael Rodarmer from Wheaton College, and Chris Vallada from AppsAnywhere. With that, let's begin today's Industry and Campus Solutions webinar. I'll turn it over to you, Chris.
Thanks, Jody. Pleasure to be here. Great introduction. I am the head of sales and business development here at AppsAnywhere, but none of you came here to hear me talk. So I am going to just kind of hang out in the background, help with some questions as I come up, and I'm going to turn it over to Jaime and Michael. So over to you guys.
Thank you very much. Jaime, why don't you go ahead and go to the session outline. So this is the quick overview of the session. One thing I should tell you in the About Wheaton College, one of the things you might hear me and Jaime refer to AppsAnywhere as Thunder Apps. We rebranded it. So if we start mentioning Thunder Apps in the middle of our presentation, don't think we'll start Googling it and seeing, oh, what's this Thunder Apps? Is that another application? It's not. It's simply our rebranding of AppsAnywhere, which is kind of nice to let you do that. I'm going to talk a little bit about Wheaton College, how we got to where we are, the technology we have, some of the things we did in legacy. And then after we moved into implementing Wheaton, AppsAnywhere, Jaime is going to take over and talk about how we actually use it. And today, and then we hopefully will have lots of time. We'll have time for questions, and we can hopefully give you some of the answers you need. I'm not going to bore you by reading all this fun text, but a couple things I want to add to this is in our environment, how we deliver Thunder Apps. We have 120 applications in our Thunder Apps installation. We deliver these to about 410 public computers. These are classroom computers. We still have a few labs around. We also have a racks full of VDI interfaces that we use along with Sassafras and AppsAnywhere to deliver applications. In this whole process, one of the things we were looking at was reducing. So we've reduced about 150 computers in implementing AppsAnywhere. We've also we're able to eliminate 5 labs, and even in our library, we were able to eliminate about 50 computers. One more little technical thing on this one. We are running AppsAnywhere, just for those geeks out there. We are running AppsAnywhere in a VMware environment, either using standard Windows servers, or AppsAnywhere provides Linux-based appliance computers for VMware. Yes, going on to our legacy technology. One of the problems we had, we were looking at was an ever-growing number of computers. People wanting more computers, more applications. Every time somebody found a new application or a new thing they needed to do, they needed a new computer. In one case, we had one professor who wanted 3 different computers running 3 different versions of MATLAB. And of course, Jaime's favorite thing was at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he would get a call from a faculty member saying, oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I need these 25 computers to have this application on it, and my class is at 8. Can you take care of that for me? We were running, again, we were requiring more and more resources. And again, when people are asking for more, the traditional way is you either throw more people at the problem, or you try to figure out, being IT, we try to automate it. And we tried that, which we'll get into at SCCM here in a second. But basically what we found out is our old models of delivery were just breaking down. They weren't delivering it. In particular, SCCM worked for a while, but one of the things we found out is a lot of our labs were laptop part labs. And if the laptop's only connection to the campus infrastructure is wireless, you can't remote into it very easily if it's turned off or nobody's logged in. The other thing is we found out that, well, SCCM is mainly delivery for installation files. It didn't always work, and you still had to go back and check each computer each time to see if we actually installed it. And sometimes you would just send a student out with a stack of 10 CD-ROMs and say, yeah, go have fun for a couple of hours. Again, because of the ever-increasing demand, we were just not able to meet the demand, and we were basically going to the CIO saying we need more money each year to maintain this level of growth. Well, the CIO didn't like that so much, so that gets into the economic pain points. So saying, isn't there a way of doing this? She had been to the Educause conference and several other conferences and talked to other CIOs and getting into the whole idea of virtual desktop interfaces and streaming app delivery, and wanted us to look at that. And one of the main motivations was the idea of having rows and rows of unused computers. In labs, we said, well, they are used. I mean, they were actually used, but it was like peak utilization, and then some labs weren't. But anyway, we went back, we got that right application, we got some lab management software, we went back and checked utilization, and we found out it was pretty low. There were actually a significant number of computers out there that were never touched. Now, we did find out, when the labs were used, we'd see students in there. We also found about half the time they were actually just looking for a quiet place to work, and they would push back our keyboard and mouse and put their laptop on the desktop, and they just wanted a quiet place to work on their technology. The other thing, I don't know, a lot of you who work in higher education have probably noticed it. The current generation of students really like to work in groups. They love circles. They love sitting around a big table with all their friends. All they have their laptops and their phones and all their tech out, and they're just chatting back and forth, either virtually or real life. And that's how they like to study. That's how they like to gather together. And in our traditional computer labs, you always have your back to people, and probably most of the time you're either staring at a wall or staring out a window, because that's where actually most of the times they're in the basement, and you're staring at a wall with your back to everybody, not the most conducive environment. So that was one of the things we wanted to move on with, to solve. So we looked at a huge variety of solutions, and I would say all the solutions we looked at worked. So we did not find bad things. We did not find things that were horrible or didn't work or wouldn't meet the needs, but we needed something that would solve our actual problems. So looking at, what do students want? Looking at the whole user experience, what do students want? What do we want to deliver? What can we deliver? And students wanted to use their own tech, and we wanted them to use their own tech. We did get into the whole issue of, we did start requiring all students to have laptops. And of course, the inevitable issue came up. Well, what about students who can't afford laptops? And we basically were able to show economically a model that showed that it was cheaper to find a way to provide them a laptop than it was to continue the ever increasing number of lab computers. And that problem now has got handed off to financial aid to figure out the best way of handling that problem. The other thing, we wanted availability both on and off campus. That was never, a lot of faculty didn't see that as a big issue. Students were like, man, that would be nice, until COVID came along. One of the things we did in our implementation, we went from we had done a beta project with the engineering department, and we were in the process of doing a slow rollout to the science to the sciences. About the time we sent everybody home, so in a week and a half later, we had all students using AppsAnywhere from all over the world. Another big thing was affordability and simplicity. We looked at one of the things we did, and I will mention it later, but Citrix and VMware are very robust applications that do provide a lot of services. They are extremely complex on the back end, requiring sysadmins, and I do mean that's a plural, sysadmins, a significant amount of storage space, and they're not exactly easy to operate, and their affordability is not their strong suit. The other thing we learned along the whole way process is file management, and not our file management or us managing files, it's students knowing where their files are, how to get them, and how to turn them into Professor, which became a very big sticking point, which is one of the reasons we ended up with AppsAnywhere. And of course, like everybody else, we didn't want to create a whole new authentication system, a whole new set of servers, a whole new set of infrastructure, either in a cloud environment or on campus. We wanted to be able to reuse and utilize all of our existing identity management systems, our existing infrastructure systems. It was very important. So how we found, yes. So how we found AppsAnywhere and why we chose it. Again, we looked through a whole variety of things. And AppsAnywhere kept playing up both in Educause conferences, and Jaime went to a couple of LabMan conferences, and it came up there as well. We did, again, a lot of research on that. AppsAnywhere did send a rep out a couple of times to our campus to introduce us to the topic, introduce us to their technology. And one of the things we said, hey, every sales rep has a great presentation. They all do. We want to talk to a real customer. And AppsAnywhere let us talk to the University of Michigan and their College of Engineering. And what we found out when we talked to the gentleman who did that, what impressed us the most is once he got the infrastructure set up, he ran it all himself. He had other duties within the College of Engineering, but he ran the whole thing himself. He built the application. So we looked at that and said, wait a minute, we can actually have a system that while there's some back-end operations for infrastructure team, it's not overly burdensome, and one person can run the whole thing. So that impressed the heck out of us. Since then, we've done the same thing for other schools, explaining how ours worked. Again, we looked at other solutions, and I think honestly, Citrix and VMware were limited very quickly, just cost and complexity. It delivered too much and of stuff we didn't need, and it was too complex. We did look at AppStream. In fact, we did actually run what we guess I'd call our alpha test with AppStream to see how it worked. And again, great delivery, great experience. The one thing we didn't like about it is all applications are run through a HTML interface in your browser, which on one level sounds great. The problem is the student had to upload their file, work on the file, and then remember to download it before they exited. That was where we discovered a unique problem that students wouldn't do that. And then they say, well, how do I get my file back? And you're trying to explain, well, you're not. So that was, the things. So file, just so you know, we're going to talk about that more, but file location became a huge issue because basically students wanted to access files on their local computer or through one of the various means we already had for a file delivery. I think I missed something here in this. No, I think that was, so the only thing, that's how we ended up at AppsAnywhere. I should mention one other thing is on the cost feature, because this also became a big issue for our CIO. We had this level of, well, this is what we're spending for our current system. And we looked at saying, we don't want to spend 10 times more, twice as much, or even 25% more than we're spending now. We want something that's about the same cost as just throwing big computers at empty rooms or lower. And one of the things we looked at on the HTML or some of the applications, some of the services offered on a per user basis or you pay for it as you use it basis. And we actually ran the numbers that turned out to be quite expensive. And the more people you have using it, the more you deploy it, the higher your cost goes. One of the big selling factors we had with AppsAnywhere, it was a fixed cost structure per campus. And the more we use it, the lower the unit cost goes, which was a big plus for our CIO. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jaime, and he can talk about some of the benefits and some of the how well it worked out for us. Jaime?
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Thank you for joining us today, everyone. Again, my name is Jaime Mejia, and I'm part of the support team here at the college. Basically, one of the things that I want to highlight is basically the benefits that we have over time with AppsAnywhere, with Thunder Apps. Again, as Michael said, we branded AppsAnywhere as a Thunder Apps, so everybody called Thunder Apps as our main AppsAnywhere resource. So one of the things that it is a great benefit is to have our applications basically in one spot, in one place. What Michael mentioned earlier, that we can I was receiving calls from faculty saying, hey, I need this software by 7:30 tomorrow morning. Just getting the college, getting an email at 8:30 at night. So, you know, those kind of things that reduce basically those calls, because I just need to be focused in one place to put those applications. So also having the beneficial or the benefits actually to access those applications from any device, from their students' devices, you know, that was a huge win. Also, what Michael mentioned too, is the file. So they were able to download the file into their computers and basically to use it from there. That was very, very useful for them. We can, you know, mention a lot of benefits. Reduce risk of insecure downloads. We receive many calls of students saying, hey, I download Firefox, but I think my computer has been hacked or has been infected. You know, those kind of things. But having, you know, free software available for them to download or to use it in their own computers, it was great. They were so happy to be able to just not trust in us putting those applications, but making sure that their computers, they were safe with that. One of the another benefits really good was the different version of applications. I don't know if you are familiar with some applications like MATLAB, SPSS, that sometimes between versions change something or get probably the same result, but with different, I would say, feature or whatever. Well, faculty are able to, you know, demonstrate and in different versions what is the result about those data that they are analyzing or whatever. Other benefits that we can highlight is basically the use of computers basically being owned by the college or you know, being owned by students. Also, the running virtualized license applications. That was still is a good deal because a student, and we can talk a little bit later, but a student, they were concerned when COVID hit to be able to buy, programs that they needed to use. So they were able to use in Mac systems. Also, being able to provide to the students the way for they collaborate together, and not just in the lab, but in any place, you know, using those applications. Also, we provide to the faculty the ability to teach, as I said, in different applications and showing the difference between those. One of the things very important, it was the right sizing of our license structure. I remember at some point we were asked, like, we need more license for this. Well, when we went to the apps and we checked the schedule, we checked the analytics, the report, we saw that those applications are not being used as a faculty are requesting those applications. So we were able to do measure about that, and that was really, really important at that point. Give me 1 second. Yeah, so from the staff feedback, or I would say faculty feedback, we we received a lot of hesitation at the beginning. They were basically expecting to not change at all with, with the configuration that we had in the past with labs. The student coming to the lab and do their jobs or do their assignment, but faculty wanted to see those students there, even though sometimes students, they were not using the computers, as Michael mentioned. Well, and we got the pandemic that everything basically shifted, and now we had to move faster to make further apps available to everyone. And that was a very good feedback later from faculty saying, wow, we are so thankful for these results that you are providing, because we can now, a student from anywhere can access to our applications, and they were basically collaborating each other through different Zooms, Teams, etc. So faculty started seeing those benefits and being able to highlight those. One of the stories that I always share is when the pandemic came, hit, they were basically crazy how students, they were able to use the resource. And when we provide the AppsAnywhere, they said, but how effective is that? How can we make sure that that works for us? And I just have to tell, let it run, and you will see the results. You will see the benefits of that. A student having, from the faculty perspective, a student being able to access those applications without buying subscriptions or buying renewal. So that is from the faculty feedback. From the student feedback, we can highlight those points over here that students, they were so happy. One of the things that we had in the past was some labs, they were locked after a certain time. So they cannot get into the room because they cannot, for rules, whatever, the lab was locked. So with AppsAnywhere, they were able to use the app, installing that app in that lab from anywhere, even from China. We had students from China, Korea, from all the, the whole world. and we were able to provide those resources to them. A student really appreciate the way that we basically put this together and make those applications available to them, and without, as I say, without buying a subscription. One of the things about, and the last point about this is the psychology students be able to use applications like SPSS and Vivo off campus. Those psychology students, they are graduated, but they are basically practicing their career, and they needed to use those applications. So we were able to provide those applications to them. That is one of the screenshot for the last 30 days of our analytics report. And if you see how many logins have been done in 30 days. Active users, you can see how many users are active using those applications. And by the way, one of the things that really wants to highlight is more faculty, after seeing this, they started putting more more assignment using those applications. If you see in the top 10 resources this month, SPSS has been used many times for many faculty, basically in the lab. But when they see these SPSS and Thunder apps, they started, putting this as a part of their curriculum, as a part of their class for the student to be able to use those applications. So we can see those top 10 applications, SPSS, JMP. JMP was one of the programs that at the beginning, a student with Mac machines, they were kind of confused. They were kind of, they didn't know what to do. So we were able to provide remote sessions to them from anywhere. And also through the class, we were able to have session for students to, to be able to get AppsAnywhere working and their machines. So that is a very good, and I know for sure our boss love this kind of reports, because they want to see the progress, they want to see the benefits along run. So this is basically an overview of what was my first presentation to the faculty when we basically started with Thunder Apps, with AppsAnywhere. As you see, we have the background and our castle and the way that we put Thunder Apps and for everybody to use was, faculty, staff, they can use, if they have their own machines, their college machine, all machines, they were able to just to sign in as a SSO. Students, normally they use the username and password using the net ID and password, and they can just sign in into Thunder Apps. So we can see this is basically the first applications that we package. And I want to highlight some. My team, we were able to package a lot of applications, but AppsAnywhere team was awesome. They were outstanding, helping us to get some complex packages, some complex applications package, and basically they were able to go with us through that process and basically training us to how to work in the future for that. So those applications, that was basically, we started with probably 30 applications before the pandemic. But once the pandemic hit and we started moving and making available more applications, at the time of the pandemic, we have about 65% of our applications, they were packaged. So a student, they were able to use it without any issue from anywhere. So that is one of the demonstration of how the program is been launched. By the way, Sigma Plot was one of the complex applications that we were having an issue with that. When I contacted the company to have that application installed in the lab, they were saying, no, you need admin rights to run Sigma Plot. We were able to work around and make it a little bit, to work in Thunder and our labs. But when we get AppsAnywhere and we were able to package the application and put it there, everybody was happy. Everybody was satisfied using the program. And so one of the things about programs like this is students, they were more focused and download the file and double click the file, which is a mistake, because what we are doing with Thunder apps or AppsAnywhere is basically virtualizing the app into your computer, and then you can use the program and use the file that you wanted to use. So we were able to do trainings, remote session, how to get access to their files, or how to open the files and the application that they want to use. So that was one of the things that we spend most of the time, because still students are kind of like oh, I'm double clicking the file and it's not doing anything. Well, yeah, you need to open the file, you need to open the program, and then look for the file to be able to run the application. But after that, after a couple of months of training, remote sessions, help, they were able to get it used and to be able to have those. I would say at the beginning we have so many calls. We can probably have 80% of calls about how can I use Thunder apps. Well, at this point, our calls from how to use Thunder apps from faculty perspective, from a student perspective, is basically, I would say, 10–15%, and that is including freshmen that they are provided with those resources to read and to get familiar with, and then they can basically start using those applications from anywhere. The tech of future about Thunder apps, and so expanding the BYOD, basically that is something that we wanted to keep improving, to keep making progress about, and expanding our resource to tablets and phones. We are doing, my team is doing a great job making this possible, along with AppsAnywhere team. So but that is our goal, is basically to be able to provide a lot of students here. They are using Chromebook, so we wanted to make sure that those devices are accomplished to use Thunder apps. What would be the life after COVID? And I know everybody has been through that situation. So we realized that we don't need labs. We don't need a physical lab for the student to collaborate, for the student to do their assignment. We can have fewer labs, and we can provide everything that we want through Thunder apps. A student expectation to get access to those applications and be able to use it when they need it. Again, cloud-based system, more VDI, and to keep making Thunder apps more robust. And I know we are working along with AppsAnywhere team to make that happen. And what we're doing with the last point here to begin to use Thunder apps for faculty and application that they are using. That is our next level. That is our next step to provide, to make those applications available for the staff using those applications to be able to go to Thunder apps. Our goal is to have everything. Actually, one of the things that we have is some faculty required to have labs and computers in the labs. What we are doing is just making those labs with Microsoft Windows and Office, and everything else is through Thunder apps. So our goal is basically to, if we need to have labs set up here on campus, we can make it available, but also making sure that we are using this resource, Thunder Apps, as our main resource to provide the resource that we provide. And that's it. Question.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Jaime. Thanks a lot, Michael. I've been kind of keeping an eye here on the chat, and some of the most common questions seem to be about software licensing for the applications that you put into AppsAnywhere. So I know that you touched on it, but maybe expand a little bit, if you could, on how using AppsAnywhere helped you to optimize the licenses that you still had to purchase of the other software titles, SolidWorks, Adobe, et cetera.
Yeah.
If you could, thank you.
Yeah. So that is one of the, this is a good question, because we're still, getting those licenses. We have a license server that hold most those applications, the license. And basically, actually with the latest version of AppsAnywhere, we can actually manage the license type, the license for those applications. And we can manage the application base, and if the computer is on campus, off campus, but for application using the license server, normally it reach the license and give you the license that you need for that. I don't know if I respond.
Well, it also, other thing it does is with AppsAnywhere, we can actually see what peak utilization is. So we try to keep, our licenses about 10% over peak utilization, just to make sure that there's some buffer there.
Excellent. Yeah, I think that those cover, I think, the questions. I mean, there were some questions that were some variation of that. So perfect. Thanks for answering those. I'm going to just kind of look through here again. A couple questions about the infrastructure requirements. So I know that you mentioned that yours, is on campus. There's one here. I don't know if you all can describe how much infrastructure it takes, but I'm happy to just kind of blanket say that we'd be happy to chat with whoever. I think it was Dustin in the chat there. We can talk to him specifically about what he would need on his campus. But Jaime and Michael, if you guys are familiar with what yours looks like, that'd be great.
It's bigger than you'd think. I mean, because of the way they compartmentalize it and then do it with load balancing, I think there's 8 servers, Jaime.
Correct, exactly. Yeah.
And then 3 or 4 of those are basically remote desktop type situations. That's how Mac users get to the applications, is they actually run the application on the server and then get it through the Parallels interface onto their MacBook. And one thing on that was saying in the MacBook, I didn't mention on the file access. You can access local files on the Mac. It's just a little bit more complex than users are used to, but you can still access your local files from the application running on the remote server, which is kind of cool. But yes, it's not a light lift for infrastructure, but it is significantly less than the VMware or the Citrix solution.
Okay, sounds good.
Started, actually, just a note. We started with two remote servers for those virtual applications. And once we started getting more applications and more demand, we increased it to 4. So right now we have 4 servers providing load balancing for those applications that are accessed through Mac users, basically.
Okay, great. That's a great point. Yeah, it definitely matters, the size of your institution, the number of users that you're going to have. So that's a great point, and that's really, frankly, why I'm offering to just sketch that out for anybody who needs it for their campus. Another question here. So the question as it's worded is, does AppsAnywhere handle software that's OS specific? So my question to you all then is, knowing that AppsAnywhere does support a number of different delivery methods, right? Not just the ones that you've shown here. There's direct downloads, there's web links, there's JAMP for Mac software. Like, are you guys using any of those as well?
Yeah, we are not using all of them. The most that we are using are the native, the cloud paging, the regular ones, the direct, the install ones. Like if the AppsAnywhere recognize that the program is installed, it gives you the option to run it locally in the computer rather than running from the apps. We have HTML file available for devices like tablet, iPad, and we have the native, the cloud. I think it's I forgot the parallel native. I think.
Yep, Parallels, RAS.
Yeah, the RAS, exactly.
Yep. Yeah, I've done this before. No worries.
We're very Mac specific. So one of the things we have done, we do a hybrid on this one. Like I said, we do have racks full of, not full, but we do have racks of computers sitting on a shelf connected to the network that we allow students to come in and run applications on in the virtual using remote desktop software. What we have done is we've connected that into AppsAnywhere, so it's still your one-stop shop. And you click on that icon, like for Final Cut Pro, or you need a Mac specific application, or we even do this for the Adobe software. It then automatically takes you to a computer that can run that software, and then you use it through a interface. So that is how we brought in other applications to run that, but we do try to have it be a one-stop shop for students to get to, and then we direct them to the technology we're actually using, as opposed to sending them two different places.
Right, that's a great point. That's kind of like how the class syllabus has a bunch of different lists of things where you have to go, and nowadays it just says go to AppsAnywhere, click on the launch button, and no matter what kind of device you're using, the software will be delivered to you or accessible to you.
One thing, I'm sorry, I did say a question there about the local. Does the quality of the local hardware matter? And it does. It depends on what you're dealing with. So if you're trying to if you have a very old wimpy Windows laptop and you're trying to run SolidWorks using a direct download, your experience will be less than wonderful. At that point in time, you do have the options of either running the Parallels client or going through an HTML interface to run the application on one of our servers.
Yep, great, absolutely. A couple more questions here. Can you talk about the implementation process? How long did it take to get up and running?
You mean from creating the package, or the whole?
Well, if I'm reading this correctly, I would imagine it's from signed contract to students launching their first apps.
Well, from the first, we remember signing in, contracts and everything. We got the training. It was in 3 days intensive training, and after that we started getting packages created, or applications packages, and with the help with AppsAnywhere. And I would say like in 15 days total, after we sign on, all kind of this, I would say like probably in a month we had everything ready in place.
Awesome, that's great. And you mentioned packages there. That question has come up a little bit here too. So the method for packaging, it's just a proprietary way to prepare the software to go into AppsAnywhere. And I know that AppsAnywhere does have a service that helps with that. Like you mentioned, Jaime, we also train customers, and some customers use a combination of both. Have you all used a packaging service at all yet, or are you doing it all yourselves?
Yes. Yeah. In the beginning, we really needed to use the packaging services, which it was really helpful, because they not just provide the package and they give you, they leave you alone. They provide the package, they give you the instruction, and they give you the receipt, the recipe for the package to be reconfigured in the future, or repackaged with a new version in the future. So we used the first year the packaging service, and it was outstanding. It was really helpful.
should say it is a learned skill. You don't start off on the first day repackaging SPSS. Yeah, that does take a little practice and getting used to the system too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had some dad joke prepared, but I totally forgot what I was going to say. So I'm going to move on to the questions and answers again. There's a couple questions here about authentication. AppsAnywhere does support single sign-on. Are you all using that as well? Which method? What's that look like for you?
Yeah. You know something, Michael?
It's standard single sign-on. It goes through our we use Fisher, and it just goes through our Fisher system.
Yes.
We do have one unique thing on our classroom computers. We do have a generic login, which is part of our AD system, so they can log in generic login. I forgot to mention that in my part is that for most of our lab and classroom computers, the only thing we install on it is the AppsAnywhere client and Office. Everything else is delivered through AppsAnywhere.
Yes.
But yes, it is single sign-on. We actually even have it set up so that if you log in generically, it'll take you right to it and download whatever applications we feel are appropriate. And that's something else you can do. You can just decide who gets to see and not see certain applications. So anything that would be generic, that we'd let anybody who was using our computers, whether guests or faculty or students, those they can be seen on the generic logins. Otherwise, it's based on what you see is based on who you are when you log in. We do have it set up to, sorry, one thing on single sign-on, students usually don't use single sign-on on their own personal computers, so they can just click to log in as on their personal computers or personal devices, just as them using their net ID and password.
Correct.
Okay, great. Yeah, absolutely. And I would add that, our customers tend to have a couple different ways to, provide access to their students or their users. They do use single sign-on. Sometimes it's an LTI integration with their LMS. So certainly, contact me for more info on that one if you don't. Network requirements and how is the performance with heavy images for science courses, health and nurse courses, for example? Do you have any experience with those?
Say it again. Say the question again.
Yeah, the question here is about network requirements. How is the performance with heavy? It says heavy images for science courses. So I assume heavy applications, heavyweight applications.
Yeah, we have a couple of applications like RGIS, SPSS, where if students are using those applications remotely or through RAS, basically the transfer for the application or for the files to be loaded in the computer, it takes some times, but it depends. It depends the internet connection in both sides. Like if you are here, it works very well. We have a very robust network infrastructure, which we don't see the lagging of a file being uploaded or downloaded to the app. But sometimes, I receive a call from a student from home saying, I'm still trying to upload the file and it's taking so long, but it's because they have probably a really, slow speed internet, it depends. While they are on campus, everything is working in a very good speed.
I should point out the AppsAnywhere does let you cache applications. Yeah. So once it's downloaded, if you're using it for like 5 or 6 days straight on a homework assignment, it only really downloads it once.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, thank you very much. I think we probably have a couple more questions. So a lot of folks have just typed Adobe or Adobe ? Or Adobe CC ? Are you all using Adobe?
That's where we use our virtual desktops. We basically have Adobe installed on about 15 machines. And then you just remote into those machines. Like I said, we have the process for remoting into a virtual desktop set up as an app, as an icon within Thunder Apps.
Okay, great. Sounds good.
If we're waiting, we are just saying, no, we are waiting for you guys to come up with a better solution. Just saying, Oh,
come on now, put us on the spot. Fair question though. I mean, Adobe is very common. We do have a lot of customers using it a couple different ways. So maybe we should talk about that when there's not an audience.
Well, we do have the Adobe. I think it's Adobe 2019 or 2017. We do have it packaged and on the apps, but we don't have it available to people. We prefer to use it through our virtual labs for now.
Sure. No, fair enough. I mean, that's the flexibility of it, right? You get to choose what's going to make it easiest for you. And along those lines, question here from David is, how much staff time does this take? How long is how much staff do you have working on it? What's the learning curve like? I think you kind of addressed a little bit of that sometime already, but if you could speak to that a little bit, that'd be great.
Yeah, that is a good question actually, because when we started, I think we were 5, 6, and with everybody working with different projects, I basically took the responsibility to work creating packages, to work along with AppsAnywhere teams to make this resource available in a good way. So even though I have 2 people that they are my backup if I'm not here, but right now I am the main responsible guy for AppsAnywhere. So to answer the question, in the beginning, I would say it took me probably 45. It depends the application that we are packaging, but in the beginning it was taking me between 35 and 45 minutes to get the package very concise, solid and fully working. Now after a year, 2 years and a half, for me it's easier to create a package, and it doesn't take more than probably 15-20 minutes to get from the start point to install the application, capture the application, clean all the settings and files and registry, and make it available and for the apps. One of the things, and I wanted to make note about this because, for example, MATLAB, it takes hours to get packaged, to get everything captured, to get everything packaged. So it depends the application, it depends all the things that you have to take note, and all the configuration that you have to be aware when you are creating a package.
I could add one thing, just to put it in numerical things. I would say on average, if you average it out over a year, it's about an hour a week for our infrastructure team. And I would say Jaime maybe spends an hour and a half to 2 hours a day just managing it, answering student questions, helping, he sometimes shows up to faculty, to classes to help all the students get up and running. So I would say, yeah, an hour and a half to 2 hours a day on managing, which is going to honestly, compared to what used to be when doing it, one by one, is a significant reduction for him, and he's able to focus on other things now.
Great, good question, good answer. I think that what we often hear too, I think you've touched on it there, is that it's an hour or two kind of consistently, as opposed to a big chunk of work in the summer. Is that fair to say, or have you not experienced that?
Yeah, I would say that's fair. It's for Jaime, it's more of an average. I mean, obviously for infrastructure team, it's when we're doing upgrades, when we're patching servers. That's when they'll put in a lot of hours one week, and then it just runs on automatic, for weeks at a time without anybody really touching it or looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've touched on just about all the questions. I am going to pass it back to Jody.
All right, this was great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the discussion and all the great questions that came in today. And thank you, Jaime and Michael, for providing your expertise and your knowledge and sharing your experiences with AppsAnywhere. Really appreciate your time today. On behalf of Educause, Thanks again for joining us today for an engaging session. And before you sign off, please click on that session evaluation link that Heather posted in the chat. We really do value your comments and letting us know how these webinars are for you. So this session's recording will be posted on the event site later today. Feel free to share it with your colleagues. And finally, please join us for the next Industry and Campus Solutions webinar on Monday, April 4th at 1 p.m. Eastern to hear about securing your institution's privileged user accounts. On behalf of Educause, this is Jody. Tracy, thanks again for joining us today. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.